and welcome. My name's Tolan and I'm the co-founder of ProductivityMe. In this video, we'll look at closing tabs and windows within your internet browser. Specifically, we'll examine the nuances of ctrl F4 and ctrl W when used in an internet browser environment. Of course, as is so often the case, you can use your mouse and the X-shaped system button in order to close a window. With your internet browser, this is no different. However, unlike many Microsoft Office programs, an internet browser also has a concept of tabs. Thus, it's worth examining a few nuances in how to apply keyboard shortcuts like Alt F4, Alt spacebar C, Control F4, and Control W when used with your browser. With one exception, the functionality of Alt F4 and Alt spacebar C is almost no different in your internet browser than it would be in a Microsoft Office program like Microsoft Word or Excel. Thus, pressing Alt F4 will close out your active browser window and make your most recent active window your current active window. Say, for example, that you were to have a single Google Chrome window open, and that Google Chrome window had one single tab. In such a case, pressing Alt F4 will close out both your application, i.e. Google, as well as that single Google Chrome window. However, when using Google Chrome and a window that has several tabs, Alt F4 will not prompt you before closing all of those tabs. It will just close your window. Thus, it can seem really frustrating when you lose a bunch of your tabs. On the other hand, certain browsers, such as Microsoft Internet Explorer 11, may prompt you with a dialog box asking you something like, do you want to close all your tabs or the current tab? In my mind, thus using Alt F4 and not being asked in order to close all of your tabs or a single tab means that when you're using this keyboard shortcut in the context of your internet browser, you might accidentally close a lot of your tabs. In which case, you would reopen Google Chrome and then use a trick like Ctrl-Shift-T in order to bring back those lost tabs. With that in mind, now let's briefly examine the keyboard shortcuts of Ctrl F4 and Ctrl W. If you want to close individual tabs, as opposed to your browser window and all of the tabs there within, you can use either Ctrl F4 or Ctrl W. Using one of these two keyboard shortcuts closes your tabs one by one in a systematic way, and allows you to make sure that you don't accidentally lose some of your work or perhaps an important reference web page. Like with Alt F4 and Alt spacebar C, there is one difference between using Ctrl F4 and Ctrl W in an internet browser environment as compared to using that in the Microsoft Office applications. The difference is as follows. If you were to only have one tab remaining open in your internet browser window, and then you were to use the keyboard shortcut of Ctrl F4 or Ctrl W, this action would close out 1. Your browser tab that you've targeted, 2. Your browser window, and 3. Your browser application itself. Thus, for example, if you had a single Internet Explorer tab open, and you then use Ctrl W, this will exit out of everything, your tab, your window, and your browser. This functionality, remember, is slightly different than from if you had used it in a Microsoft Office program. If you were to have a single Microsoft Word document open and then use the keyboard shortcut of Ctrl W, this action would close your Microsoft Word window, your document, but it would actually leave the application of Microsoft Word still running. Thus, this is an important nuance to note between using Ctrl F4 or Ctrl W within the browser environment compared to the Microsoft Office application environment. That being said, Alt F4, Alt spacebar C, Ctrl F4, and Ctrl W are useful when working with an internet browser. There's just a few nuances that you want to get used to. In our next video, we'll cover the keyboard shortcut of Ctrl Tab and Ctrl Shift Tab, two great ways to jump from one browser tab to the next. So, as is our ritual, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.